Hi, my name is Laura. I'm from a small town in eastern Iowa. If you're new here, thanks for joining us. If you've been here before, thanks for coming back. Today, I'm going to share the rest of the freezer meals I made for my friend who is due with her first baby in June. When I asked her if she wanted freezer meals, I asked her what kind she wanted. She said pasta. So boy, today we are doing 3 different pastas: lasagna, stuffed shells, and chicken Alfredo roll-ups. Before I begin, this mom definitely needs her coffee, and I like a good iced coffee with cream and caramel. I see so many people out there who dedicate a whole day or a whole weekend to freezer meals, and I just don't have that luxury. I work full time, I take care of my kiddo, and do all the house responsibilities that entails. My husband works too, so it's just not possible for me to just cut off a whole day or weekend to make freezer meals. But if I have somebody I love who needs them, I am more than willing to throw aside a couple hours while my son's napping or at night, an hour or so I can make them while my husband's upstairs with my munchkin. So as you saw, I browned up some pork sausage, and the other part was some venison sausage that we made last time we butchered a deer, and brown that up. That'll be our meat portion for this. And right now I'm taking some ricotta, and I'm just gonna make it a little extra special. And to do that, I'm adding a heaping tablespoon of parsley and a heaping tablespoon of the garlic and herb seasoning mix. I am going to use some of my home canned spaghetti sauce. You can use whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Store-bought's fine. And I'm just going to take my time and just start layering this with noodles, the ricotta mixture, and my meat mixture until I'm happy and it's all the way to the top. The noodles I'm using are oven-ready noodles, which is why I didn't pre-boil them. Is anyone super ready to get their garden in? We still have about 1 week until we can get ours in, and I'm so excited. We do it Mother's Day weekend. My husband helps, and my little munchkin's out there with us, and I cannot wait. I started all my plants from seeds again this year, and I can't wait to get them in the ground. Plus, I would also like to have that space back in my house. Granted, it's not that big because I'm not doing a whole bunch this year, but it still is taking up real estate on my counter in my kitchen under a south-facing window. It was funny when I went to deliver these to her. Well, we met for breakfast, and then I drove them to her house because I did not want her carrying all these in because, of course, she's pregnant. And so I have my laundry basket, and I'm, helping her. And I said, this lasagna itself is so heavy. And she's like, oh, yeah, I don't know that she fully believed me. And when she was taking them one by one to stack them in her freezer, she's like, oh, my gosh, you were not kidding. That is so heavy. I don't even know how many layers I did. I suppose I could look back and count them. But I used like 3 boxes of lasagna noodles in the span of today. And yeah, I should have made another one for us to have that evening because my husband's like, oh, we're having lasagna. And he was a little heartbroken when I told him that they were not for us. But maybe sometime soon I'll make him a lasagna. So here I've got my final layer, and I just want to make sure that there's enough liquid for the pasta. So I'm going to add some extra sauce around the outside. I don't think there's anything worse than a dry lasagna. So we're adding some of that, and then of course you have to add it mozzarella cheese. And I'm going to take a little bit of that dried parsley and add it in on top of my cheese to make it look a little fancier. My munchkin is still napping, so I'm going to try and get a second meal done. And I'm going to do some stuffed shells. And I have another thing of ricotta, so I'm going to use that too. But I also have these baby bells in the fridge. My son doesn't like them anymore, which is fine. So I'm going to unwrap them all. And I plan on quartering them. My thought was I'd put a quarter, a quarter of each into each shell as I stuff them with the ricotta mixture. And then whatever doesn't get used, because I'm not going to do a whole bunch of noodles. It's just her and her husband, so there's no point in, packing it with 50 noodles. So whatever doesn't get used, I'll just put back in the fridge, and maybe it be in a different shape. He'll like it. Worth a shot, right? So I threw together ricotta mixture just like the one I did for lasagna with parsley and the garlic and herb seasoning. I went ahead and boiled a pack of these jumbo shell noodles, and I'm putting a little bit of ricotta in each one, along with one of those quarters of Baby Bell cheese, wrapping it tightly and putting it in the pan. And I did put a little bit of sauce on the bottom so that it didn't burn when it went in the oven and less stickage. I would do these meals for anyone who I love, but for her, it's just a little bit more special. We've been friends for like 17 years or something like that. But she's a firefighter and he is a sheriff deputy, so they're hardworking and they're just amazing people. And I'm so happy to have them as friends. All right, that's all I'm going to do for this pan. I feel like that's more than enough for a meal for the two of them. I'm going to use the rest of my meat from the lasagna as well to throw on top. And obviously, we got to throw some more sauce on it so that way they're nice and yummy and not dried out when they come out of the oven. And like any good Italian pasta dish that you're going to bake, you got to throw a bunch of cheese on it. So more mozzarella on it along with a little sprinkle of parsley. You'll notice here in a second that the two pasta sauces here, this one here is a bit darker. These were two separate batches, and this batch I let cook down a little too long in my roaster, but it has a really good depth of flavor. So that's why there's two different shades of red, in case you were wondering. So now it's chicken Alfredo lasagna roll-up time. So I'm taking the rest of that ricotta mixture that I had left from earlier when I made the stuffed shells. By the way, it is now evening. It's 8 o'clock. My husband took my son up to bed, so I get to try and rock this one out so I can go to bed. And I'm adding some pesto to it. I love adding pesto. I love the herbaceousness it gives. I really like adding a dollop to pizza when it comes out of the oven. It's so good. I love it. And I'm going to cut up some chicken. This is just Costco rotisserie chicken. I've used tin chicken before. I've used grilled chicken before. I've done chicken that I put into a cast iron pan and grilled off or cooked off real quick with salt and pepper. For me, it doesn't matter. So on the burner, I have been boiling up some lasagna noodles. I want them pretty al dente because they're going to bake in the oven and I don't want them to become mush. So I'm just going to lay them out on my sheet here and get them to cool down a little bit so I can handle them with my fingers. I'm going to throw a little bit of cream at the bottom of my pan so that they have something to sit on. So here I am taking some of my mixture and just putting a little bit on each noodle, and then putting a little bit of chicken on it. And then I'm just going to roll this up and place it into my pan. And I'm just going to keep doing this for each of them. I also have some homemade Alfredo on the stove, which is just butter, cream, Parmesan cheese, and I did put a little bit of herb seasoning in it. So that'll be cooled down enough by the time I get done rolling that we can put it on. And I'm just going to keep rocking these out and fill my pan. So my pan is full, and I do have a bit of this chicken left. So I'm just going to spread it on over because there wasn't a whole ton of chicken that went into each roll up because I didn't want to add too much and have an issue rolling them. So we'll put the rest of the chicken on top. I'm also going to use the rest of my ricotta cottage cheese mixture and just dollop it on there. No reason for it to go to waste, and can never have too much. Throw the rest of that on there. Important thing to remember is all of these 3 different noodle dishes I made, they're best to be thawed completely and then cooked at 350 until they're nice and hot and bubbly and warm all the way through. You can do it from frozen, but it takes a heck of a lot longer, and I think the best result is if you cook them from thawed. Here's my homemade Alfredo sauce that I made, and you'll notice it's a bit thin. I wanted it to be a little thinner because as it heats up in the oven, it will thicken. So I'm just pouring this on over, and I don't know the last time we bought like pre-made store Alfredo. Some things just taste better when you make it yourself, and for us, we like homemade Alfredo a lot better. Went ahead and added some extra pepper on the top, and then topping it again with mozzarella cheese. Thanks for watching. I'm not sure what I have in store for next week, but either way, I'm excited to share it. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have a good week.